The following is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com. It is 4:02 p.m., time for the 4 p.m. 411 here on WLCN 96.3 FM. I am Loyd Kirby, the marketing manager here at WLCN, and have an interesting guest for you today, a young lady, Jenna Gill, who is with the Fostering Grace organization here in Lincoln and Logan County, I suppose. So if we can get our cameras working, there we go. So Jenna, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. And Jenna's going to be talking about Fostering Grace organization, as I said, based in Lincoln, dealing with foster care, foster families, kind of explaining the process to folks who are interested. If you have questions, 217-648-5510, the number to call, or you can email your questions, 4pm411 at WLCNonline.com. But for now, let's talk with Jenna. So if you would, for listeners who may not be familiar, what is Fostering Grace?
So Fostering Grace is an organization that I founded when I've been a foster parent for my husband and I for just over 10 years. Okay. And I think it was 7 years ago, we got a baby girl at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and she just had the clothes on her back. Oh, and wow. All she wanted was jammies and go to bed, and that's when Fostering Grace was born in my heart that night. And I said, we can't let foster parents be struggling like this. And one of the first things that people say to me is, well, I thought the state helps with that. Well, they do. You do get a clothing stipend, but it doesn't happen right then because it has to go to court first. And they have to make sure that this case is going to stay with you. And in the case of the little girl, it actually was thrown out immediately because her grandparents were found and came right to help rescue her. And so what does the foster parent do when they're in the middle of that? How do they get clothes and all of that kind of stuff? So that's where Fostering Grace comes in. Okay. And we provide the immediate initial need for, we make sure that whatever age it is for the child, that they have what is appropriate for them to get them through at least a couple of days, sometimes a week worth of clothes. So we give them a bag of clothes and then, other necessity things, toothbrush and those type of things that they might need immediately. Then it gives them time to tomorrow I can go out to Walmart, go grab what I need, and that kind of thing. And
as we were talking before going on the air, there isn't really, it sounds like once you decide to become a foster parent, there isn't really like a instruction manual of you go here and do this, or you talk to this agency about that. It's very much sort of learning the ropes on your own, it sounds like.
You kind of do a little bit. The caseworker is there to help you as much as they possibly can. DCFS and CYFS, the Center for Youth and Family Solutions out of Lincoln, are our two agencies that are local to us here. And they are awesome to work with. There is... Sometimes you get a good caseworker, sometimes you get a bad caseworker, but I always tell everybody there's always somebody above them. So if you're not getting your questions answered, you can always ask their supervisor, or, the ladies that answer the phones at both places are great to help too. They are awesome. And
so I'm sure every case is different depending on the age, depending on the circumstances from which the child comes, but can you kind of give us a general, I don't know, sort of a roadmap of the fostering process, like how soon you might find out, and then what sort of the following steps are?
So when a child comes into care, like through DCFS, they will get a hotline call, and they will go and check that situation out to see what's going on. If they feel like that they need to remove this child, then what do they do from there? That is when we get involved as the foster parent, and you'll get a phone call and they will give you as much information as they possibly can about that child. You can ask questions. I always tell foster parents, ask questions, ask what is bringing this child into care. They can give you general idea. They cannot, because of HIPAA, they can't give you details, but they can give you general, so they can say, this was a substance abuse issue, or this was neglect, or this was a battery and assault, so you kind of know they have a general idea. Sometimes you don't even get, like the little baby girl that we got, we didn't even know her name.
Oh, wow.
Her mom was so intoxicated that she couldn't give us any information, and so we had a baby for 2 days.
Oh, wow.
So but it is what it is. You never know what the situation is, but thank God for DCFS being there for children. I know they get a bad rap, they really do, but I will not cry, but I am so thankful for them, because I don't know where my babies would be without them.
Sure.
So I am thankful for them.
Like most things, I think you 100% of the time, 99 out of 100 times things go well, and there's good people and everything, but it's the 1% that somehow makes it into the media or on the radio or whatever.
They tell you the bad stuff. They don't always tell you the good stuff. They don't tell you that the caseworker is there for you. They don't tell you that when you got a good one, they can become your friend, and they actually really care about the kids, which has been the case a few times for us, is that we've had caseworkers that truly do love our kids, and I'm very thankful for that.
Sure, absolutely. We're talking once again with Jenna Gill, who is with the founder of the Fostering Grace organization based in Lincoln. The organization will be having an informational event on June 25th, this coming Sunday. Can you tell us a little bit about what folks might learn at that event?
It just gives you, it's called the basics to becoming a foster parent. So it's some of what we're talking about right now. I just give the kind of the good and the bad, and what to expect. Being a foster parent for 10 years, we've had a lot of experience. We've had children that we have sent back into the foster care system. We have sent to home, and we've also adopted now 3 times through foster care. So we've kind of had enough experience under our belt. I know I don't know it all for sure, but I'm able to speak from experience. And then we also invite the agencies to come and have a representative there, so that way they can help answer questions that I may or may not be able to answer as well.
That event is Sunday, the 25th.
From 2 to 4.
2 to 4 at the Dugan Center on North McLean Street, I believe it is.
So.
And the information was just on the slide. I guess I could have put that back up and sheeted here. 1500 North McLean Street in Lincoln.
Awesome.
So, once again, this is Jenna Gill. We're talking with the Foster and Grace founder, organization founder here in Lincoln. You mentioned that as a foster parent, you'll get a call about a placement and as much information as they can give you, but be sure to ask questions. How do you become eligible to be called? Like, what is the process to becoming, getting on that list to be eligible to be called in those situations?
You have to be licensed, a licensed foster parent or a family placement. So sometimes when a child comes into care, DCFS really does have the children's best interest at heart, where they're trying to keep families together as much as possible, but sometimes the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. And so they have to be careful. They're going to check out whoever it is that this child is going to. So if they cannot find family for that child to place that child with, they're going to go outside family. That's where they need the traditional foster parent homes, which is what we have been. And the statistics right now are staggering to me, that this was just as of April, the end of April of this year of 2023, there was 116 children in Logan County that were in foster care. And currently there are only 14 traditional foster parent homes.
Wow.
Out of those 116 children, only 30 of them were actually able to be placed in Logan County because they did not have homes for them. And so I've been advocating to try to get more foster homes, because we need more foster parents. We don't have orphanages, which is a good thing that we don't. These children need individual love and attention, and you can give them that. And I think the most common thing I hear from people is, oh, I could never do that because I can't give one back. And I always say to them, but you get in your car, you might have a wreck.
Right.
I can't handle my parents or my grandparents dying either, but I do it when it's when it comes, when
Right.
it's necessary
Right.
or, whatever. So to say I can never do that, I question you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you really never do that? Or do you need to just dig deep and try to find out? It's not the kids' fault that they're in care. They
Right.
just need and want someone to love them and take care of them and be mom and dad until one of two things happen. Either mom and dad gets their act together, which I will say that DCFS does a very good job of making sure that that is what is happening. I know there's some horror stories out there,
Right.
and that happens because it's not a perfect system.
Sure.
Our whole government's not a perfect system.
True.
But, the majority of the time, they're making sure that these kids are taken care of. And a lot of people don't know this. After the kids go home for X amount of time, DCFS is still in their life.
Oh, okay.
They still do come and check in on them, and they do their checks and make sure they pop in.
Oh.
How's it going? They want to see that the parents are truly doing what they're supposed to do. And I will say, personal experience with that, the two that we did send home, from what I have been able to know of them, because you don't really know anything about them after they're gone from you, they are doing well.
Nice.
So, and that is all my heart needs to know, is that, their parents did what they needed to do to get their kids back, and they fought really hard. And it's a hard battle, but that's a good thing, because it means they're showing that they can prove that they
Sure.
can get them back.
Sure.
But if you don't get them back, then what happens? Well, there's a lot of people out there that want to adopt babies. Do you know how many children? I don't know what the stats are on that, but there are so many children, thousands of children that are sitting waiting to be adopted through foster care all over,
Right.
including right here where we are.
Right here in Logan County.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
We'll go ahead and take our first break. Once again, our guest is Jenna Gill. If you have questions, 217-648-5510, or you can send us an email, 4pm411 at wlcnonline.com. We're talking about the organization that Jenna founded, Fostering Grace, and talking about foster parenting and foster homes. We'll be back with more on that right after this. And we are back on the 4 p.m. 411. Our guest once again is Jenna Gill. She is the founder of the Fostering Grace organization in Logan County, which will be having an upcoming event this Sunday. While we've got your ear here, don't forget to sign up at WLCNonline.com for the weekly events-based newsletter, the 963411. If you click under the community calendar link in the navigation bar at the top of the page, there's a link there. You can sign up, and while you're there, you can also sign up on the homepage for two drawings we have going on. One is for a pair of passes to Knight's Action Park in Springfield. The other one is for tickets to the upcoming races this Sunday evening at Lincoln Speedway at the Logan County Fairgrounds. So once again, you can get all that information and more at WLCNonline.com. Also, tomorrow on Viewpoint, Bill Gossett's guest will be Scott McCoy, who is the Director of Tourism in Atlanta. That happens at 8:15 until 9 a.m. But as I mentioned, our guest today here is Jenna Gill with the had a brain cramp. Fostering Grace. I knew there was fostering in there. Fostering Grace organization. So we've been talking a little bit about just some of the things, the process, and some of the things that happen within the events as far as fostering goes. So what is your background that you became interested in this?
My husband and I, after we got married, we found out that we couldn't have children, and infertility is what brought us into becoming a foster parent. I actually didn't want to be a foster parent because I was that person who said, I can never send one back. I just couldn't do it. And now I've sent 2 home, and you can do it. There's a grieving process that you go through, but you know what? It's possible. You can do it, you know, and God gives you the grace and strength that you need when you need it too.
And you sent me a picture, which I was going to share. You want to tell folks who are watching on YouTube what they're seeing there?
Is that our family picture? Yes. So last Friday, we actually got to adopt our last 2. And now we are one of those 14 homes in Logan County that is now closed because we are full. So, you get to choose. You can have up to 6 children in your home. Okay. But with the ones that we have, we're about extended as far as we can get extended.
If you had one more, you could have a basketball team.
No, I'm good.
All right. So is there a certain? I mean, you mentioned that some people have a sort of a mindset about, I could never, I couldn't do that. Are there sort of some preconceived notions about fostering or some myths that maybe people have gotten bad information about that you spend a lot of time educating people and sort of setting them straight on certain issues and certain things?
Well, some people think that DCFS is bad. They just automatically, they're just afraid of them. They take people's kids. No, they don't. They are doing their best to make sure that the child is safe and secure and healthy and taken care of. And if that child is not taken care of, I would hope that anyone would want a child to be taken care of. And so, like I said, DCFS gets a really bad rap, especially in the news. You hear the bad stuff. Right. You don't hear the good stuff. You don't hear that, that they helped make sure that these children had food. You don't know that they haven't been changed their diapers all weekend. You don't know those things unless you're living in it. And this is happening in our world right around us. Sometimes you don't know. And so and DCFS doesn't know unless someone says, I think there might be a problem here, and you're kind of looking for some red flags. If you see some red flags, you should call, because that child might be wishing that someone would call and help me, and then they need somewhere that's safe and secure for them. So what does that look like? What happens when you call the agency? What happens? Do they immediately come and critique you? No, they want to come to your house and they want to say, yep, this looks like a good safe place for them because it's clean and because you have food in your cabinets, and they are going to check your bank statement because they want to know that you can provide for this child. Even though the children do get a stipend every month, and that goes to them, and it doesn't cover everything, but it definitely helps. It helps them to be able to do sporting events and stuff like that. There might be extracurricular activities that they might not would have been able to do as well. So, there's a lot of advantages that foster kids get, which is amazing, and they deserve it. They've had a rough life, and I think a lot of people say to me, I had somebody say it to me just this week, those kids are so lucky. And they're not. Right. They're not lucky. They lost a lot on Friday. It's a hard thing to be in a courtroom and hear you're not fit to be a parent.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I've gone through that twice now, and I sit there and cry because I can't imagine being that parent and hearing those things. But at the same time, we have to do what's best for them, and they're too little to know what's best for them. Right now, they just know that they're happy and they're safe and they have food in their tummy, and they know that nothing's going to harm them where they're at, and so that's the kind of homes that we need. We need people to love them and take care of them, not because they want to keep them, but because they need to take care of someone until they can go back. And we hope that they can go back, but if they cannot go back, then I hope that they can stay forever, because that's what they need. So we need to do what is best for them,
Okay. Once again, we're talking with Jenna Gill with Fostering Grace. We'll go ahead and take our second break and be back with more from her right after this. And we're back on the 4 p.m. 411 with Jenna Gill from the Fostering Grace organization. She's the founder of the organization, which handles or lends support, I guess is a good way to put it, for foster families, foster parents. The organization will be having an upcoming meeting this Sunday. Is there a certain need that your organization has in terms of if people are interested in supporting, other than obviously foster parents or potential foster parents, are there things that people can do or somehow that they can support the organization to kind of hopefully help make a difference?
If you follow our Facebook page, which is Fostering Grace, # Fostering Grace, you'll be able to see anytime we have needs. They don't come up very often because most of the time we actually have it covered, but then sometimes there are financial needs that we can help with. So like this winter I had one that needed a coat and I had to go buy a coat. I had one that needed shoes. I had to go buy shoes. So sometimes there is financial need there as well to help us be able to help the foster kids or whatever that they may need something.
And you mentioned something before we went on the air that I hadn't thought of, that you mentioned that the summer is actually sort of a slow time in the fostering community, and things begin to spike around August. See, I just instinctively I would have thought it was the opposite, that people would get back in school and they would be busy, and so there wouldn't be as much activity, I guess, so to speak.
Right.
But you say summer is fairly calm, and then, as you mentioned, things sort of pick up in August. Why is that?
It's because the kids are going to school, and sometimes it's the kids are going to school for the very first time. And so they will get, the schools will need to hotline if they see danger or they can tell. It also sometimes, especially like throughout August, the teachers are developing a relationship with that child, and that child might open up and share things that are frightening.
Sure.
But it's what's happening at home, and so they're able to call DCFS, and then they'll hotline it, and then DCFS checks it out. And so that's why there's usually a spike in August and September, is what you usually see. So there's more of a need than, it's all the time.
Sure.
But that's typically when you see more of a spike is when school is in session.
Okay. And we mentioned, of course, you got the event coming up Sunday, but are there other events that Fostering Grace does, or things in the community that the organization helps out with?
We do our Christmas blast. Usually we have an annual Christmas blast, and I don't know the date on that right this second, but that is usually put on for first-star foster families. Then we open it up to the whole community.
Okay.
And so it's basically just a Christmas carnival that we put on just for fun for the kids, because it gives them an opportunity to, we also invite the caseworkers to come at that point. We even invite the judges.
Oh, nice.
And the state's attorney's office, if they'd like to come, because they deal with them in the hard times.
Right.
It's difficult for them to ever see them in the happy, smiling, and this is what's happening in a happy kind of part of life.
Right.
And so it gives them an opportunity to be able to see them in that light too. So we'd like to do more events like that. It just takes a lot to put on an event.
Sure. Yeah, I remember putting it in our newsletter and putting it on our calendar, and noticed the information. It looked like you had a lot of businesses that kind of stepped up to the plate to help sponsor that.
Yes, they do, and that's what helps put it on, because it is a free event that we do for the community.
Okay. And we mentioned once again, we mentioned it earlier, we should probably mention it once again, you've got the event coming up this Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m., the basics to becoming foster parents. You mentioned it's not necessarily a formal sort of a presentation or a lecture. It's a little bit more of a laid back atmosphere. So if folks are going to attend that, what can they expect?
We just kind of sit around the table and talk. I just give, kind of like we are doing here, I just give information, and the event has what I cover on our event page. It'll tell you everything that I'm going to cover there, but basically it's just my experience, the speaking through that, and then the caseworker will be there too. They should have packets with them, so if you choose to take a packet home with you, it's not like you come to that event and you walk home with a child, you go home with the child the next day. It doesn't work that way.
So Oprah's not going to be there. You get a baby, and you get a baby.
No.
Everybody gets. Okay.
No, it's not like that at all. So my meeting is just to kind of give you the very, very basic information and help you understand what you're getting, kind of what you're getting yourself into, what is even anything about it. And then from there, I don't have anything to do with it anymore unless they come to me and ask me for help with something. Sometimes I'll have foster parents who don't understand what's happening with the system, because it is trying to understand how to navigate the system.
Sure.
So we talk about what a GAL is, and we talk about, what does it look like when the child first comes to your home? How does that look? Do you get money for them? What is a stipend? What does that look like? Oh, you get how does all of that work out?
Sure,
so we get to cover all of those details and kind of help give you a complete understanding. So you have to be 18 years old, and you have to be able to pass a federal background check. That's basically the only, and you've got to be able to support yourself and prove that you can support yourself and someone else. And then you have to have at least a 2-bedroom home, because the child has to be able to have their own home, their own room.
Right.
But outside of that, it's basically just about anybody. So there is there's a false thinking out there that you have to be married. That is not true.
Oh, okay.
Single people can foster. They help you with daycare.
Oh.
That's one of those other things that people don't always know. They say, oh, well, I work a full-time job. How in the world can I be a full-time mom or dad too?
Right.
Well, they help pay for
Wow.
for your daycare, and they help cover those things for you, so that way you are able to do what, live your life too.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
So.
Okay. So once again, that meeting is June 25th, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. If folks are interested but they can't make it to that meeting, is there, what would be the best way either to contact you or somehow get information about the meeting or the Foster and Grace organization?
Right. So just through our Facebook page, they can follow that, and there will be at least one more meeting this year. I don't know exactly when the date is for that one yet, but there will probably be at least one more meeting, and that's. If I'm not having a meeting and somebody needs me, or the time is a bad time for them, I tried to pick a weekend,
right,
so that way most people are not working, but if they need a different time, I'm happy to even set up one-on-one.
Okay.
I can sit down at the coffee house with you.
Okay.
And kind of go over some of those details with you, and I'm happy to do that.
Okay, very good. So once again, Foster and Grace, the event is happening 2 p.m. on this Sunday, June 25th, at the Dugan Center, 1500 North McLean Street in Lincoln. And you can learn more about becoming a foster parent, the foster system, and all the other little pearls of wisdom you've kind of picked up in your experience, I guess. So,
Yes.
once again, our guest has been Jenna Gill, the Foster and Grace organization in Lincoln founder. And be sure to tune in tomorrow to Viewpoint with Bill Gossett. Scott McCoy, the tourism director for the city of Atlanta, will be his guest. That happens at 8:15 tomorrow. This has been Loyd Kirby, and thanks, Jenna, for being with us. And we will be back next week with the 4 p.m. 411 here on Tuesday. But for right now, thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.
The preceding program is a presentation of WLCN 96.3